When Warren Buffett wakes up at 5:30 a.m. in his $31,500 house, he does something that separates him from every broke person scrolling their phone right now. And no, it's not checking stock prices. What he does in those first 15 minutes rewires his brain in a way that made him worth $154 billion. But here's the shocking part. You can start doing it tomorrow and it won't cost you a single cent. The ultra-rich don't just think differently about money. They've cracked a psychological code that most people will never discover. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what that code is. Here's something nobody tells you about billionaires. They don't actually work harder than you. In fact, most of them worked fewer hours. Elon Musk didn't become the richest person on Earth by grinding 18-hour days forever. He learned something at age 27 that changed everything. When he sold his first company for $22 million, he didn't celebrate. He didn't buy a mansion or a sports car. He did something so counterintuitive that his own family thought he'd lost his mind. He took every single dollar and bet it all on one thing. No safety net, no backup plan. While everyone around him was screaming about diversification, he went all in on an online banking service that people said would never work. That company became PayPal, and that bet turned into $180 million. But that's not even the most interesting part. The real secret is why he made that decision, and it reveals the first major difference in how billionaires think.
But here's what nobody tells you about all these secrets. They won't work if you don't fix the most fundamental problem first. You have to believe you deserve wealth. This isn't some manifestation nonsense. This is cold, hard psychology. Researchers found that people have an unconscious financial temperature they're comfortable with. If you grew up hearing that rich people are greedy, that money is the root of evil, or that you have to sacrifice your soul to get wealthy, your subconscious will sabotage every attempt you make to build wealth. You might consciously want to be rich, but subconsciously you believe rich people are bad, so your brain makes sure you never become one of them. The solution? You have to reprogram your money beliefs, like the wealthy do. They write new principles about wealth and repeat them like mantras until they become automatic. They surround themselves with people who have healthy relationships with money. They read books about wealth psychology until their old beliefs get overwritten with new ones. This is the real work, the psychological foundation that makes everything else possible. The ultra-wealthy aren't superhuman. They don't have access to secret investments or insider information that you'll never find. What they have is a completely different operating system in their brains. They've rewired how they think about time, money, relationships, and opportunity. They've set their wealth thermostats high and backed them up with daily habits that compound over years into extraordinary results. Every single habit we've covered today, reading strategically, living below your means, paying yourself first, delegating ruthlessly, engineering your network, thinking long-term, these are all choices you can start making right now. You don't need $1 million to think like someone who has one. You need better inputs, longer time horizons, and the psychological framework that turns ordinary effort into exceptional outcomes. The question isn't whether these secrets work. They've created thousands of millionaires and billionaires who started with nothing. The real question is whether you're willing to change how you think about wealth, because that's where every fortune actually begins.
Now let's talk about the most controversial secret, the one that separates people who get rich from people who stay rich. Wealthy people spend more money on each purchase, not less. This seems completely backwards until you understand the psychology. They're not wasting money. They're buying in bulk, getting better per unit prices, and saving time they'd waste on repetitive purchases. One billionaire revealed he buys everything without an expiration date in bulk. It's more expensive up front, but it saves him thousands of hours over his lifetime. Those hours go into building wealth. But this principle goes deeper than just buying paper towels in bulk. The wealthy understand that cheap things are expensive in the long run. They'd rather buy one $500 pair of shoes that lasts 6 years than 6 $100 pairs that fall apart after a year. They're not being extravagant, they're being efficient. They've calculated the true cost of ownership and they've realized that quality beats quantity every single time. This mindset shift alone can save you tens of thousands of dollars over a decade. Here's the secret that ties everything together, the one habit that makes all the others possible. Billionaires pay themselves first. This sounds simple, but most people get it completely backwards. When most people get paid, they pay their bills first. Then they spend on groceries, gas, entertainment. If there's anything left at the end of the month, they save it. But there's never anything left. Rich people flip this entire system. The day they get paid, a fixed percentage automatically goes into investment accounts before they see it. They treat saving like a non-negotiable expense, just like rent or a mortgage payment. They're not saving what's left over. They're spending what's left over after they've saved. This one habit compounds over decades into life-changing wealth. $1 invested in your 20s can be worth $10 in your 60s, thanks to compound interest. The wealthy understand this, so they maximize every tax-advantaged account, automate their contributions, and never touch the money until they're ready to retire. They're not living paycheck to paycheck because they've built multiple income streams: stocks, real estate, business ownership, side ventures that all feed their wealth. Each income source is small at first, but over time they add up to financial freedom.
The sixth secret will probably make you uncomfortable, but it explains why some people build empires while others stay stuck. Billionaires are ruthlessly honest about their own limitations. They know they're not experts at everything, so they do something that feels wrong to most people. They delegate almost everything. Grant Cardone runs 7 companies and manages a $4 billion real estate portfolio. He doesn't personally oversee every detail. He can't. There aren't enough hours in the day. Instead, he's mastered the art of finding smart people and letting them trade their time for his money. But here's the part that most people miss. The wealthy don't just delegate tasks they don't like. They delegate everything that doesn't directly generate wealth. One billionaire revealed he doesn't cook, clean, do laundry, or even drive himself places when he's working. Every minute he saves on those tasks goes into activities that multiply his wealth. Time is the only truly scarce resource, and rich people treat it that way. They ask themselves one question about everything they do: is this the highest and best use of my time right now? If the answer is no, they find someone else to do it. Here's something that will change how you see relationships forever. Billionaires don't network randomly. They engineer their social circles with surgical precision. They're looking for 3 specific types of people. First, they want access to information before everyone else knows it. Second, they want connections to opportunities that never get advertised publicly. And third, they want relationships with people who think bigger than they do. But here's the counterintuitive part. They don't ask for anything when they first meet someone. They give first. They provide value, make introductions, share insights, and help solve problems. They're playing a long game that most people can't even see. One billionaire revealed that he's never had someone invest in him who didn't know him personally. The real estate he owns today, most of it was purchased from sellers who picked him over other qualified buyers because of existing relationships. Trust closes more deals than money ever will. The wealthy know this, so they invest enormous time and energy into building and maintaining the right connections. They understand that your network determines your net worth, but only if you approach relationships the right way.
Now here's where everything you think you know about rich people gets flipped upside down. Millionaires don't live the way you imagine. Researchers studied thousands of millionaires and found something that destroys every stereotype. Most millionaires don't drive luxury cars, they don't live in mansions, and they definitely don't wear expensive clothes. In fact, one multimillionaire admitted she budgets strictly, eats out only twice a month, and shares a single car with her husband. The only twist? It's a Porsche. But even that reveals the real secret. Rich people spend money on things that matter to them, not things that impress other people. They've cracked a psychological code that keeps most people broke forever. It's called lifestyle inflation, and it's killing your wealth before you even build it. When most people get a raise, they immediately upgrade their car, move to a nicer apartment, start eating at fancier restaurants. Their expenses rise with their income. But here's what the wealthy do instead. When they make more money, they keep their expenses exactly the same and invest the difference. One CEO worth millions still flies coach on every flight.
He says first class is a waste because we're all going to the same place in a big metal tube. That mindset is worth more than any investment strategy you'll ever learn. But there's something even deeper happening here, something that most people never discover. The ultra-wealthy treat money like a game they're playing to win, not a resource they're trying to protect. This shift in psychology changes everything. Poor people see money as scarce. They hoard it. They're terrified of losing it. Rich people see money as abundant. They know that if they lose it, they can make it back because they understand the rules of the game. One self-made millionaire revealed that he tips his hairstylist $125 when she tells him about a financial mistake. Not because he's generous, because he understands that money flows to people who treat it as a tool, not a trophy. This abundance mindset creates a feedback loop. When you believe money is abundant, you take smart risks. Those risks generate returns. Those returns reinforce your belief that money is abundant, and the cycle continues. But when you believe money is scarce, you play defense, you avoid risks, you miss opportunities, and you stay exactly where you are.
Rich people have what psychologists call a wealth thermostat, very deep in their subconscious mind. Think about your home thermostat. When the temperature drops below the setting, it kicks the heat on. When it rises above, it shuts off. Your brain does the exact same thing with money, except you don't even know it's happening. Researchers interviewed hundreds of self-made millionaires and discovered something disturbing. People who grew up hearing their parents say money doesn't grow on trees or we can't afford that have their thermostats set to poverty. And here's where it gets darker. Even when these people suddenly get money from a bonus, an inheritance, or a lucky investment, their subconscious panics. Within months, sometimes weeks, they've blown through it all. Their brain literally sabotages them to get back to the financial temperature they're programmed for. But billionaires, their thermostats are set to wealth. When they lose money, their subconscious immediately starts generating ideas to make it back. Donald Trump lost nearly everything in the early 1990s. His net worth dropped into negative billions, but his wealth thermostat was still set high, so within a few years, he'd rebuilt his empire. The question you need to ask yourself right now is, what's your thermostat set to? But wait, there's a second secret that's even more powerful. Every billionaire interviewed in a 5-year study revealed they do one specific thing every single morning. Not meditation, not exercise, not affirmations. They dedicate the first hour of their day to consuming information, but not the way normal people do. Warren Buffett reads 500 pages every single day. Bill Gates finishes 50 books a year. But here's what makes them different. They're not reading for entertainment. They're reading to identify patterns that others miss. When Buffett reads 5 newspapers, he's not looking at the news stories. He's looking for what's between the lines. He's spotting trends, psychological shifts, and opportunities that won't become obvious to everyone else for another 6 months. Chow Tak Wang, the Chinese billionaire chairman of Fuyao Group, was asked what advice he'd give to young people. His answer shocked the interviewer. Not work hard or follow your passion. He said something that reveals how the ultra-wealthy really think. He told them to read books about how to be a good person because he understood something that most people never figure out. Your character determines your wealth ceiling. But that's not all. The wealthy don't just read, they read with a specific system. They're looking for 3 things in every piece of information they consume. First, they want to know what's coming next in the market. Second, they're searching for gaps, problems that nobody else is solving. And third, they're studying human psychology because they know that money doesn't come from ideas, it comes from understanding what makes people buy, invest, and say yes.